Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host, Ahmed Nawaz. Now, once you're in a career and you fall in love with sports, then there are no boundaries. One tends to keep going on and on, until they can, and obviously beyond every limit, and obviously sky is the limit then. But you come across certain phases in your life when you truly feel that maybe this could be your life's biggest achievement. And growing up, the gentleman we're going to be having tonight, once again a very exclusive of Sports Extra here at PTV World, is one such gentleman that anybody who's fallen in love with cricket over the years has known the history of cricket. There is no doubt in my mind that this guy would not be their superhero, because a career that starts from the 1980s, who could have been a lawyer by profession but became a journalist and a cricket lover by heart. More than 300 test matches, 400 one-day internationals, covering 9 cricket World Cups, 2006 FIFA World Cup, 1988 Olympics, Wimbledon in 91 and 93, the 98 and 2010 Commonwealth Games, 90 Asian Games, and also covering the 2015 World Cup. Most interesting part that I saw was the heroics of Kapil Dev with 175, if I'm not wrong, against Zimbabwe. Very few people got to witness that match, and he was one of them. And titles given to him as the Silver Fox, and of course, Cricket Wala, truly do justice. Author of so many books, naming them would be too small. I think words cannot do justice to the personality we've been joined by tonight. Very, very honored to have with me on show none other than sports writer, journalist, columnist, author, lawyer, and historian for me as well, and one of my heroes when it comes to cricket history and cricket documentation, none other than the very, very honorable Mr. Ayaz Memon. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Good evening. Welcome to Sports Extra.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. I'm not sure if I deserve all of it, but delighted to be here.
Sir, it's a pleasure and it's an honor having you. And now, before we start discussion with Sir Ayaz as well, I think it's justice that we let our people know that what we're going to be focusing on tonight. And there was a book that came out, On Fire, and it literally set some stuff on fire as well. It was Ben Stokes' book that made some startling revelations. Besides that, we're also going to be discussing in tonight's show a couple of other things as well, as far as cricket globally is concerned due to COVID-19. The T20 World Cup is hanging in the balance as well, and generally how cricket and sporting activities have been affected. And then, of course, I think a bit of history when it comes to cricket with Sir Ayaz as well. We're going to be discussing especially one of my favorite topics, and that is, of course, the future of Test cricket, because I think that is something that really needs to be focused on more by the relevant stakeholders as well. We'll be discussing all of this, but in particular, the book by Ben Stokes, English all-rounder, called On Fire. We've got a report on that as well. Let's just take a look and then come back.
England all-rounder Ben Stokes has opened up on one of the most controversial games of the 2019 World Cup. In his new book, On Fire, the all-rounder has expressed that he was startled by India's approach in chasing 338 against England at the Edgbaston in Birmingham. The lack of intent from their finisher MS Dhoni combined with Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma's plan surprised him the most. Criticism also followed from Pakistan, who accused India of losing the game knowingly to deter their chances of making into the knockouts. Chasing 338, the Indian team got restricted to 306 for the loss of only 5 wickets. The 28-year-old Ben Stokes was baffled at MS Dhoni's approach of taking singles, even as his side needed 112 from the last 11 overs. He felt that even with the dozen balls, India could have won. However, there was no intent from either MS Dhoni or Kedar Yadav. These startling revelations have created a frenzy in the cricket fraternity all over the world. Cricket pundits have come up with mixed opinions.
Right, that was a report courtesy of our team here at Sports Extra as well. Now you get an idea of what I'm talking about. This has been creating some frenzy over the past couple of weeks as well, and we're lucky enough to have Sir Ayaz comment on this as well. Sir, it looks like cricket without controversy in today's time looks like almost biryani without spice. What are your comments on this startling revelations that have just been made?
Well, look, I was there at that match. I saw that match being played, and India really struggled badly. I thought the performance was pretty shoddy. So, it's not something that the team would look back very fondly at. And, MS Dhoni was in the middle, Kedar Yadav, they really struggled extremely poorly against the But what I could say and what I remember from that match is that the pitch got, increasingly slower as the match progressed. So, hitting the big shots wasn't easy. You'll find that very few were there. I don't really subscribe to the view that they may have lost it intentionally, because in a World Cup to lose a match intentionally is you're losing momentum massively. And remember, India were favourites in that tournament. They were not. It's not like the 1983 World Cup. You never knew what this team could achieve. Nobody had a clue. Nobody expected the team to do well, and therefore when you won, it was great for the game. Here, the team went in as favourites, joint favourites with England, if you want, and there was so much at stake for all of them. Remember, this was Dhoni's last World Cup, so I'm sure he would have wanted to win. And Kohli hasn't won. Virat hasn't won an ICC tournament. This was his big ambition to win the World Cup. Obviously, it all came to not in this match, but in the semi-final against New Zealand. But I thought that after a very good start to the tournament, they lost their way a little bit in trying to get the formation right of the team, especially the number 4 and number 5 slot. And somewhere it started to tell on the minds of the players. This is my reading of the situation. I may be wrong, but clearly this match against England was a fairly disastrous performance by the Indian team.
Sir, you're absolutely right on a point, and I tend to agree that India were coming up as favourites with the team combination that was being made with a couple of new inductions. Then, of course, Virat Kohli in the prime of his form as well. All seemed to be right for India. The form, Rohit Sharma was in before this and everybody else. How did you see this World Cup generally for India?
I thought that they started extremely well, beating South Africa, then Australia, and beating them handsomely. You had Virat. I thought leading the team actually quite well. But the star of the show was obviously Rohit Sharma. Century after century after century. And when you have a team in that, or a couple of batsmen in that red hot form, then you expect the team to really go the whole distance. Now, yes, there were setbacks. There was the injury to Shikhar Dhawan, and then Hardik Pandya, so things started falling apart a bit. But even so, I might say that this was a very experienced team. There was a lot of players who had been around for a fair while. Also some youngsters. So you had some young legs and young lungs, and you had some really accomplished batsmen. Virat and Rohit are two of the best in the world where batting is concerned. So very disappointing to see them outclassed by New Zealand in the semis. But that's the way it goes. I thought that somewhere even there in that match, the calculation went a little haywire. When you're chasing a target, you have to be very, how do I put it? You have to be very accurate if you're taking it the whole distance. If you're not winning it with 4, 5, 6 overs to spare, it requires precision in the chase. And I thought that against New Zealand in the semis, a little unfortunate that Dhoni, who was beginning to strike the ball extremely well after Jadeja had played his part, got run out by a couple of inches maybe. Big blow. But, I think that kudos to New Zealand for having performed so well under pressure. Beating India was never going to be easy. They did it. And they did it with conviction. I think somewhere the Indians lacked that conviction after a great start to the tournament.
Definitely. And sir, of course, we have to talk about England at this stage as well, being led by Eoin Morgan. You look at the team with the likes of players and the combinations they were making. Ben Stokes, obviously an integral part of this team, but you can never exclude the other people that were flanking him apart, with Joe Root, of course, at the same time as well. Joss Butler, I think, fantastic player himself as well. So England team's preparations, we kept on saying this, being an Asian nation, that if you want to see the preparations, then England look ready for the World Cup.
Well, look, I think England went into remake mode. They rebooted for ODI cricket after the 2015 disaster. They had a very poor performance there. They overhauled their team. Obviously, Morgan was there in that team too, but he became captain. They overhauled their team. They got in a lot of all-round, players of all-round ability, and most striking amongst them was Ben Stokes, who's had perhaps one of the grandest years any cricketer could have had in the history of the game, where you lead your team to the World Cup title, and then after that the spectacular Ashes performance that he put up. So I think they just got, they built up this whole momentum with intent. They gave Eoin Morgan, I think, a fairly free hand to get the right combination in place. They took a very serious call, for instance, not to pick Alex Hales, who was in such great form. He's a limited over specialist, but he had a poor behavior issue, but they dispensed with him. So that was their sense of conviction. Halfway through the tournament, or not even halfway, they even kept aside Moeen Ali, who was supposed to be one of their key players if they had to win the title. But they found replacements adequately. They got these guys to come in and chip in, and just went on from strength to strength. They had a bit of a jolt here and there, but I think their focus was right. I think their assembly of players was very good, and I thought Morgan was the most brilliant captain on view in that entire tournament.
So it's been an amazing year if we talk about that in terms of cricket. We've seen so much cricket at that time as well. But now progressing, definitely testing times of COVID-19. The big calendar saw the ICC T20 World Cup just around the corner. Mixed opinions coming up from the ICC as well, whether to hold it or not. But definitely, sir, you would agree that cricket has really suffered in these times.
Very badly. I mean, all sports have suffered. Cricket also, particularly because this was a big year in cricket. Apart from, I think the World Test Championship has gone completely into disarray. If I remember correctly, I was reading somewhere Misbah Haq, who's now the coach and the selector. He said that it should be restarted, rebooted, and I tend to agree with him because there's so much time lost. And now, if you go through and have a Test Championship final next year, there'll be some teams which will suffer very badly, and that can't be allowed. You have to be, it should be fair to all teams who are participating. The other is the T20 World Cup. Now that seems there's a cloud hanging over it. There's still a few months to go. It's in the month of October that it is scheduled. But now, if there's going to be issues of quarantining, 16 teams, how do you, move from venue to venue within Australia? Australia has been very strict from the medical aspect of COVID because they've been able to manage the damage quite well so far. And there is also this, the issue of the Indian Premier League, the IPL, where a lot of people, including former players like Michael Vaughan and some of the others, former England captains, who veering around in the view that, hey, it's perhaps relevant to play the IPL and maybe shift the T20 World Cup. Because remember, what's going to happen is an ICC tournament. Cricket Australia is not going to have great revenue coming from it because no spectators are going to be allowed in the grounds. It's going to be played only for a TV audience. Even the IPL may have the same issue, played in front of a TV audience. But the broadcast rights for the IPL are so massive, so huge, that they generate huge amounts of money. Now, obviously, the unfortunate part is that the Pakistan Cricket Board gets nothing out of the IPL because there's no participation of Pakistan players. But that's an issue apart. All the other teams, other boards also benefit if the IPL is played. So it's still a contentious issue. It's a debatable issue. Some former players, like former Australian captain Ian Chappell, feels the Australian players should prioritize the T20 World Cup if the window is available. So there's a bit of a tutu meme going on, and we'll know on June 10th when the ICC declares, they suspended, they adjourned the meeting and suspended any decision till June 10th. So we'll have to wait and see what decision the ICC takes. If they can tweak the Futures Tour program and have the give Australia the T20 World Cup for 2022 season, because 2021 India is going to be host, then maybe the Australian Cricket Board will say, okay, we vacate this period, let IPL be held, and after that they'll obviously get a full tour of the Indian team touring Australia for a 4 Test series and some T20s and some ODIs.
Definitely. Now, Sir summed up this absolutely spot on, whether this World Cup is going to go forward or not. But definitely concerns are there because COVID-19 is a serious situation. Now, our team here at Sports Extra has a detailed report into the ICC meetings that have been taking place over the decision of this T20 World Cup in Australia. Of course, mixed decisions, like we said, coming in. Let's just take a look at the report and come back.
The 2020 ICC Men's T20 World Cup is scheduled to be the 7th ICC Men's T20 World Cup tournament, with matches to be held in Australia from 18th October to 15th November. The final will be held at the MCG. In April 2020, the International Cricket Council confirmed that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the tournament was still planned to go ahead as scheduled. However, the following month, a senior ICC official said that it would be too big of a risk to host the tournament in 2020. The ICC also stated that reports of postponing the tournament were inaccurate, with multiple contingency plans being looked at. All decisions on the tournament have been put off the table until the ICC's meeting on 10 June 2020. The ICC board met via teleconference today, with all agenda items deferred until 10 June 2020, following a discussion led by Chairman Shashank Manohar around the issue on confidentiality. A number of board members had raised their concerns over this issue recently and felt it required immediate attention to ensure confidentiality of board matters in line with the highest standards of governance. There was unanimous agreement to immediately initiate an independent investigation led by the ICC's ethics officer and supported by global experts. The board will be updated on this by the ICC CEO at its next meeting on 10 June 2020. The board also requested the ICC management continue with their discussions with stakeholders in exploring various contingency options in light of the rapidly changing public health situation caused by the COVID-19 virus.
Right, detailed report courtesy of our team at Sports Extra, always doing their job, essential workers indeed. Now, talking about the fact that this is the T20 World Cup, the fate does hang in the balance, but the decision would definitely been taken in line with the situation of COVID-19 throughout the year as well. Definitely, like I said, safety is a priority, not just for the players, but for the management, I think the support staff and everybody else as well. This brings me to a very particular point. Syed, I must ask you, you've seen the evolution of cricket since the 80s now, up till now. We generally have to accept the fact that there is a lot of demand and a lot of focus and you can say a lot of acceptance for the limited overs cricket, formats getting shorter, with 100 also coming up that was delayed due to COVID-19 as well. But somewhere down the line, people like me, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who have really fallen in love with cricket because of Test cricket. And its future really is something that really hangs in the balance.
Well, it does, and I think this is something that should bother the administrators as much as it should bother the players. Now, there are some good things, there are some good signs. So, attendances for Test matches have slumped across the world, except when you have the Ashes series. Unfortunately, the box office, potential of Indo-Pak Test series is not being actualized or realized for political reasons. But overall, if there is a slump in Test match attendances, I think what is happening is a lot of people are following Test matches online. So while they may not be at the ground, they may not be sitting in front of television all the time, but they are accessing information and following the matches online. So that's a great thing. The other is, I think that, we need players like India's captain Virat Kohli has proactively gone advocated that, Test match is the real thing. Now coming from a player of his achievements, his stature, the status he enjoys in the game today, that's a big fillip that, the Test cricket can get. And that is something that the administrators need to build on. Look, at the end of the day, T20 and ODIs in fact might get jammed between Test cricket and T20. Time is at a premium for people. They will not, 5 days, people may not be able to attend. There needs to be some inventive thinking. I think the whole marketing of 5-day cricket, its charm, its magic, its intrigue, the suspense it builds up, it needs to be, if for want of a better phrase, I think Test cricket needs to be made sexy again, especially for the young audiences. They must get to enjoy the magic of Test cricket. The other is, how do you ensure that you get high quality Test players? That comes down to all the domestic structures, looked after, how it's nurtured for all the countries. So if you don't produce cricketers who are enjoying Test cricket or the longer format, 3-day or 4-day cricket, and then when they go up and play those matches, they are found wanting. Now that is something that is, the onus is on the cricket boards to go and ensure that this doesn't happen. So you have players like a Virat Kohli or a Babar Azam or some of these players, fantastic players who are terrific across formats. Steve Smith, David Warner, Rohit Sharma increasingly now even in Test cricket. Jasprit Bumrah as a bowler, he's brilliant across formats. So there will be these kind of players who will straddle all formats, but there will be some who get restricted by their speciality. And if that cluster becomes too much and not enough talent available for Test cricket, that's another area where Test cricket will suffer. So I think the cricket boards of India, Pakistan, England and Australia certainly. England still pays a lot more attention to their traditional cricket, their county cricket, etc. So does Australia for their Shield cricket. I think India has put in a lot more vigor and money and even energy behind it. I don't know about Pakistan. I hope they are doing it for their domestic cricket. But we need strong domestic structures to throw up terrific, international talent, international quality talent. Because we've seen what happened to the West Indies. The board didn't take care of that.
Definitely, the board didn't take care of that in the West Indies, a prime example as well. Obviously, we'll be discussing this further with Sir Ayaz as well. And obviously, Test cricket opens up another debate, and that's about having 3 different teams or captains for 3 different formats and identifying players. I think that really opens up a big question mark on this structure as well. We'll continue the discussion, but right after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sports Extra. We're in conversation with one of the greatest historians as far as cricket is concerned and sports in general. I think the Einstein of cricket, we can call him, definitely, but he's got so many titles to his name. Before the break, we were discussing the fact about Test cricket and its future hanging in the balance as well. So Ayaz, this opens up another debate, and that's been a very, very, one that has been very debated upon, a very strange topic, which says about identification of players maybe for 3 different formats. You mentioned Jasprit Bumrah. One thing I loved about Bumrah was that in a post-match interview or somewhere, he was asked about whether he'd like to play T20 cricket more, and he said, I want to play Test cricket more. So there was a man who had his priorities straight, but we know how devastating he can be in T20 cricket. Are you a fan of having 3 different player identification programs for 3 different formats, 3 different skippers, or you think that if you've got good leadership capabilities, you can go on with one team for different formats?
Question. I mean, both kind of approaches seem to have worked. So for England, Ian Morgan is not part of the Test team, but he's a very successful captain in ODI. He won the World Cup, so you obviously can't change him there. Even if Joe Root is captaining the Test team very well, if he starts winning there. By and large, the tendency in India has been to have the same captain across all formats, at least for a period of time, till that captain is young and he's not looking at only one format more closely. So we had MS Dhoni, who captained for a fair number of years in all 3 formats, and now we've got Virat Kohli. But we also have Rohit Sharma, who captains when Virat is not there, and he's been very successful also. So there's no one size which fits all heads. I think different teams take different approaches. Australia is taking an approach of a different captain for Test matches and a different captain for the ODIs and T20s. I suspect what is going to happen is as time passes and T20 becomes, as it evolves, and remember it's attracting a lot of media attention, fan attention, and also sponsor attention. So there'll be a lot more money available easily in that sense, or readily or quickly in the T20 format, and a lot of players might be swayed towards that. If you've seen T20, specialists going all around the globe and playing in the leagues, so that is going to happen. They'll disengage themselves from national cricket and go there. Now that's not the best thing to happen. So I think where the administration is concerned, there is a challenge ahead for the global body, the ICC, but even more so for the national federations or the cricket boards of the country. We just had recently in India, Suresh Raina and Irfan Pathan. Irfan of course retired, but he made this statement that why can't he be allowed to go and play a T20 league if he wants to? Suresh Raina said, if I'm not contracted, if I'm not in any of the contracts A, B or C, then why can't I go and play in some other league? So these are issues that are going to crop up, and I'm sure this is the case across the world in all countries.
Definitely is. Now, sir, once we connect this with the prospect of having cricket, but without crowd interactions, of course, without the concept of crowd, you of course mentioned a very particular point about broadcast rights involved, and it could be only for television. You witnessed such a situation, almost a similar situation back when Kapil Dev's Rohits were there against Zimbabwe, only 15 to 20 people, if I'm not wrong. It would just take the fun away of the game, wouldn't it?
No, but I must correct you here. Actually, when India played Zimbabwe in the 1983 World Cup, it was a small ground, Tunbridge Wells, small quaint county ground in Kent. But there were about, I think, 3,500, 4,000 people at the ground, and that is what the capacity of the ground was. It was like an old, retired people's county. The Tunbridge Wells, that little small town was that. But, the point is that you can, in the short term, have matches without spectators, which is fine because there is a medical emergency and there is a threat of the disease. But can it be sustained over a period of time? Now there are serious challenges because the players themselves draw inspiration and succor from those who are assembled at the ground. The bigger audience may be for television or on the digital platform, but those 20,000-25,000 people who may be at the ground provide a lot of energy and inspiration to the players on the field. I mean, Virat Kohli is one of those who comes across as brash and aggressive, but he actually gets the audience to participate with him. And imagine if he is on the field and there's not a soul around, it's all balanced stands. I wonder how he'll feel. In fact, he mentioned recently in an interview or in one of the chats that he's done that it would be a very, very strange feeling. Now, whether technology can help us stimulate an environment where it looks like there are people around, technology is also creating its own magic. We'll have to wait and see. But I think for sports, certainly you need. I think I would be very uncomfortable playing in front of a barren stadium. Imagine an Imran Khan or a Wasim Akram coming into bowl and there's not a soul. There's not even a cheer. Somebody cheering them on to come in and bowl. Or Jasprit Bumrah today, it would be very, very odd. It would be, it would seem like we're on some other planet.
Definitely, sir. Sir, talking about the history of cricket, you've seen it evolve every day. I mean, every minute for the past so many years now. Going back to the 80s and 90s, producing so many legends, cricket being very textbook, very particular. Now we see all kinds of evolutions in terms of technology, in terms of the shots being played. You've got deliveries being bought at more than 150 Ks, then the shots like the Dil Scoop, the switch, it's so many things being innovative, and innovated at this time as well. How do you see this great evolution? And definitely with the fact that more and more teams are coming in terms of cricket. We saw Afghanistan, Ireland getting test status, so it's becoming more and more inclusive or exclusive.
So two things. One is that, tradition is going for a toss. Tradition, I'm talking more about technique. Apart from that, other things also going for a toss. Like, till Kerry Packer came, who thought that cricketers would wear colored clothing, but it's happened. And who thought they'd play under the ice, but that's happened. Who thought in T20 there would be strategic timeout, but it's happening in the IPL. So a lot of things are, there are generational changes that happen. The other thing which is happening is that it's become extremely competitive, the sport, and therefore players, just for survival, they have to think up new and new methods of staying ahead of the curve or staying ahead of the challengers. So you've got the reverse sweep and you've got the switch hit and you've got the Dil Scoop coming. Look at the bowlers. Who would have thought, that leg spinners would thrive in limited overs cricket? But now every team wants a leg spinner. So you look at any team in T20 and ODIs, they want a leg spinner. Sometimes they have two leg spinners in the squad. So bowlers have also to improvise. They have to be smarter than the batsmen. Batsmen have to, make use of the power play, the field restrictions, etc., there's a lot more creation of shots than what was technically prescribed earlier. The technique, officially or orthodox technique, came to us how the English saw the game, not how the West Indians saw the game or the Pakistanis or the Indians. We were even at that point in time, 50, 60, 80 years ago, trying to do things a little differently. We had supple wrists. We were using our wrists more than our arms, and so on. The magic of spin from the subcontinent. So all that is it has got accelerated and compressed into a shorter period of time. If the T20 World Cup has to be played this year, you will find an infinite variety of options that the bowlers are trying, the batsmen are trying to beat the field, etc. So I think that there's no limit to how much inventiveness or improvisation can happen.
Definitely, sir. And we look at your illustrious career. Now, it's a bit. I think it's a bit difficult to ask you this, even that covering so many sports. What has been that one particular memory that you would keep on recalling from time to time about that one sporting event that you've been through?
It's difficult in a long career, 41 years now. It's difficult to pinpoint only one, but certainly up there is India winning the World Cup in 1983. That's magical, unforgettable. In fact, that was the tournament which convinced me that I should forget about law and become a sports writer. So Kapil Dev 175 and India winning that title, certainly that is unforgettable. But I've also had the occasion to see some really great performances. I've seen Ben Johnson and Carl Lewis, race of the century at the Seoul Olympics. I've seen Usain Bolt in the 2012 Olympics in England. I saw Zinedine Zidane being sent off the field in the World Cup final in 2006. Who would have thought, and that would happen. And then, of course, Javed Miandad's last ball six in Sharjah, which, stunned the subcontinent, both sides, and had such a huge impact on the psyche of Indian cricketers for a fair while. And Sachin Tendulkar, his first match in Karachi, which I saw, test match, and I also saw his last test match in Mumbai. And so therefore, the entire span of 24 years to see this great batsman going out and batting year after year with that kind of consistency. These are absolutely unforgettable, memories for me.
Definitely they are, and I'm sure, sir, not just you, but all of us cherish these memories with you, with the work that you're doing as well. I must ask you finally, a little bit something you could tell us about the 92 World Cup, because Pakistan has really cherished that. Pakistani nation has really cherished that. We've got then captain, now the Prime Minister, of course. But the heroics of that 92 World Cup are still even told today in stories and all over the country.
Oh, absolutely. I was there in Australia for that tournament. I was covering, I was following the India matches, but also I saw the final between Pakistan and England. But you keep tabs, you keep, track of what the other teams are doing. And frankly, midway through the tournament, nobody gave a hope in hell that Pakistan would make the cut. Some luck, of course, one of the key matches got rained off, and, Pakistan escaped from almost certain eviction from the tournament. But the bigger story is not how they escaped the eviction. So that is luck, and some amount of luck comes to everybody in every sport. It's what they did after they escaped, and how they went on to win the tournament is the more remarkable story. And a few things that I remember is how, and which is why Imran Khan rates as amongst the greatest captains the sport has ever seen, is how he took on that responsibility of leading the team, having got that window of opportunity, changed his batting order, came up batting at number 3, including his final or 3 or 4, along with Javed Miandad, these two veterans showing the way, and then of course the brilliance of Wasim Akram, the emergence of Inzamam ul Haq. These are all fantastic memories from Pakistan's performance in that World Cup. And of course, I must add here that the team, one of the teams to beat Pakistan in that tournament was India, and that actually broke the spell that Javed Miandad's last ball 6 had cast on the Indian team, so to speak. Because after 86, repeatedly India would run into a problem playing against Pakistan in ODIs. In 91-92, after India beat Pakistan at Sydney, if I remember correctly, after that India hasn't lost in an ICC in a World Cup to Pakistan in any of their tournaments.
Definitely, sir. Great memories indeed. Sir, Ayaz, thank you so much for giving us the honor of hosting you tonight. I think it's been a highlight that we've gone through, a flashback of all of your memories at the same time as well. Words can certainly not describe the services you have given to all of these sports with your illustrious career. We pray, we send you a lot of prayers, and we hope that you keep on doing this great work and keep on entertaining us, of course, and giving us that knowledge that you've always shared with all of your fans, millions of them all over the world, and I must say, certainly a lot of them in Pakistan as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for calling me on the show. It's been a pleasure. Take care, stay safe, and Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz, sir. Thank you so much. That was the legendary, I must say, Sir Ayaz Memon talking to us here at Sports Extra. Very exclusive program. Once again, I must really say that it's been a great talk with him throughout this program. So much history. You see, these are special moments in anyone's career if you love sports, because these are things that, you cannot just let them fade away with the sands of time, but they need to be preserved. And Sir Ayaz is obviously a living example of these memories being preserved and obviously being shared with the rest of the world, and of course sports fraternity as well at the same time. That's all we have for this very special edition of Sports Extra. Until next time, from me and the entire team, it's goodbye for now.